I'd like to welcome Jeff Rochon, our CEO, and Megan McIntyre to take over.
Thank you, Jenny. Wait and see if we've got all the team able to turn their stuff on. And Jenny, do you have the slides that you could put up? I emailed them.
Oh, okay. Happy to. I can give you, just let you be presenter if you'd like.
It's probably easier if you just do it.
Okay.
Because it's just the agenda slide. Right. Well, welcome everyone. This is our typical current issues in pharmacy practice, moved a little bit ahead of time. We love to consider this more a membership meeting, a way for us to, report out some interesting topics, maybe some relevant news and updates, but more importantly, for you to share with us what we need to hear. And I'm privileged to be sharing the screen with President Megan McIntyre as we've navigated this interesting time. Megan doesn't like to use the word unprecedented, and so we won't. But I have to just start by throwing some tremendous praise to Megan and her leadership in the most unique year I've spent with the association, and so thank you for your leadership and quite frankly perseverance through a lot of pivoting and curveballs that presented themselves. I'm responsible for some of them, not all of them, but I really truly appreciate all you've given. And that is extended absolutely to the team that you're leading, our leadership, the executive committee, and our board of directors. But thank you so much for that. I wanted to turn the mic over to you for some introductions of your team, just a heads up, and then we can go through our agenda here. We will want the ability for folks to ask questions or make comments throughout the time. So Jenny, if you can help with navigating those and interrupt us as needed so that we can address this. We want this to be a two-way dialogue.
Of course.
So Megan,
sure.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Are we able to have the board of directors that were able to jump on for this session to turn their cameras on just so people could see their faces?
Yeah, let me do that right now. I'm going to make them presenters so that then they're able to do that. So I'm going through.
You know, could have planned it ahead, but why not? Like we just pivoted, didn't we? So
right. We do have two that are serving on the APHA House of Delegates right now.
Right. And I know everyone can be here, but those that are here, it'd be nice just to, if you're comfortable, to share just your face with those in attendance, and get to see you. The work of a WSPA board member, there's Chris, hello, is often behind the scenes. And now it's behind a camera, but they have been dynamic and pivoting just like we all have had to do to really keep so many balls in the air, moving forward at the same time. And I'm grateful for all of them that are here. Chris is here. Thank you for being here. He is going to take the helm and lead the board in 2021. So I can do this part now. I think I have absolutely enjoyed getting to work so closely with Chris this year on many different fronts, just regular board business and again, pivoting in a pandemic. Yay, Jennifer Olsen-Norton's here. Working through the CEO transition process. And I know that everyone here, if you haven't met Chris, you will, and you will find him to be calm, thoughtful, decisive, and is going to continue to provide stability and leadership and new ideas to this organization well into 2021. I'm sure that in a typical year, there would be some elaborate handing of the gavel. I think I've held the gavel once. These scissors have subbed in. There's some more. Hello, I see more directors, Kurt, Carrie. They'll come up here towards the end, but I'm not gonna, these are my favorite fabric scissors. So to my quilters out there, you know, don't cut paper with those. I'll leave it up to Chris to find his own gavel. It's just a tool. Great, Michael, thank you. Great. Well, thank you for everyone for being here. I think I'm gonna stop talking and save some of the other items for later in the day, but there are a little snapshot of your board of directors. They've been in and out of all the academies, introducing speakers. So thank you all for making time to be here, and thank you for your contribution and support this past year.
Thank you, Megan. We certainly appreciate all of the amazing, generous devotion of time and efforts to all of the board members. This year alone, we've doubled the amount of times that we've met. And yes, we've been meeting virtually, but we've asked a lot more of you all as the association has navigated in needs of our members through a lot of twists and turns. So I heartfelt thank you for your contributions to this year and to the profession. We are truly in debt to you for the contributions that you've made. And to that point, we still are going strong, and we want to share a few of the moving parts. Some of that is related to the pandemic, the legislative session that it will be unique and interesting moving forward. But in those reports, again, we want dialogue. These leaders are your spokespeople at the WSPA Board of Directors table as we make decisions. And this is not some exclusive group, or they're here to represent you. They're elected by you. And we want everyone to participate in our meetings, in our committees. We are so much stronger when we have all the different minds at the table. The elected folks are there for you to hear what you have to say and make sure it's part of the conversation when decisions are made throughout the year. So please either pull them aside, grab their text, their cell number so you can text them, but or use this platform or any of our town halls. The communication is crucially important. So with that, I just wanted to offer up, we have an hour for this. Typically we've had an hour and a half to 2 hours, so it is an abbreviated session. But we always want to recognize the important relationships we have throughout the state with our partners, and two of the most fundamental partners we have are the schools. University of Washington and Washington State University. And so I believe Mark is on, I don't know if he's on able to make it for this meeting, but I believe he's registered at the meeting. And I'm not sure if Sean is, but I just wanted to offer an opportunity for the deans to say a couple of words to their alums that are here today to share some of the great stuff that's going on at the schools. If you are not able to do that, totally understand, but wanted to recognize the importance of our relationships with the schools and make sure that you had an opportunity to share some of the great stuff if you so choose.
Unfortunately, we don't have either of the deans on, but I'd love if somebody else from the university wanted to speak in their space, or hopefully we can have a moment for them at the awards ceremony on November 19th.
Yeah. We'll give a second for anybody to raise their hand, and if not, we can move into our updates. And so, Jenny, if you do not see anybody, would you kick off a brief, concise, there's certainly multiple moving parts in the COVID space right now, and hopefully everyone has been engaging in the town hall webinars and some of the other discussions through committee work around COVID testing and vaccine and PPE and all the different moving parts. If you aren't, please do. Jenny, would you mind giving an update of the latest and greatest for folks and point them in the right directions to how they can engage further?
Yeah, talking about all of COVID and the challenging months we've had here, all in a brief snapshot, is a challenge, but there were just some key pieces that I wanted to give to our members, make sure that they knew and were dialed into. The first of all is we'll talk about the vaccine first and or potential vaccines. As somebody who's my degree in microbiology has served me very well this last year and for undergrad. And if you have curiosity about the vaccines that are being developed, where they are, the science behind them, one of the best resources that I've actually seen and had referred to by many presentations I've attended is the New York Times Vaccine Tracker. So if you do have curiosity about the development process and which vaccines are being developed, it's actually a worldwide information that's captured on there, and they do a really nice job of both talking about all the different vaccines. There's upwards of 200 potential candidates, but really there's 5 that we're most focused on within the United States. A lot of individuals believe that we're going to have a vaccine going through the EUA process, the emergency use authorization process with the FDA by the end of the year, at least one. So far, everybody's thinking the Pfizer vaccine is very likely to be our first candidate. And so our state has begun planning and preparations for vaccine distribution. Since I think May, I've had very frequent phone calls with our state vaccine coordinators, and they've been very transparent in partnering, very interested in making sure that all aspects of pharmacy can be a part of vaccine administration and distribution to individuals. So a few notes there and a few kind of timelines and things to keep your eye out for. Long-term care facilities are able, up until today they're supposed to submit their results to HHS about whether they would like to use their own staff and partner with their own pharmacy to distribute vaccine to individuals within long-term care settings. And so if you work with adult family homes, skilled nursing facilities, and the like, I hope that you've had a chance to have a conversation with those facilities about vaccine and vaccinating their staff and their patients in the different facilities, whether you're able to help with that, or they should use the federal partnership that HHS has arranged with Walgreens and CVS. We also are starting to talk with Walgreens and CVS to see how we can support them in vaccinating these populations, also from the state association standpoint. For hospitals were given the first round of the provider agreement signups this week, and so that the hospitals should respond with those before, I believe, November 15th is the date that the state would like to see those agreements back. One of the challenges with the state agreements, and you see this on the CDC model document, the CDC is having the states the CDC has given it to the states to have all of their providers sign to get vaccine, since it's a federal asset, these vaccines, that's how they view them. And on that agreement, it asks for all of the prescribers to be listed. If you are running a hospital, that is a lot of people. I think you have a couple of different options. One, you can go through a state standing order, or not a state standing order, a facility standing order. So all of the COVID vaccine is prescribed under, say, the medical director, and that's just what you enter them as. The other is you can just provide every single name of a provider in your group. I don't think there's going to really be a system to match up which provider, if they got on that contract or not, once the rubber hits the road. So I think you can go one of either direction on that. In entering your providers. And so that does have a deadline. Starting on Monday, I'm told, the agreement will be sent out more broadly to the pharmacy community. So pharmacists won't need to sign on this agreement. It will be facility-based, pharmacy-based. So each pharmacy will need to sign on the agreement. The chains are, most of the chains, I believe, are signing an agreement with the federal government. So our big focus with the WSPA is engaging with our independent pharmacy owners and making sure they're prepared with their the vaccine finder and entering information into the IIS, and that they have that contract and the MOU in their hands. So we will be sending out all of that information to support the small chains and independent pharmacies in our area so that they're prepared to receive that vaccine. I don't want to focus as much on the vaccine and take away Dr. Kublin's thunder with that, but we are also tracking the ultra cold storage requirement that is in place for the Pfizer vaccine, the pizza box storage system with the dry ice storage container that can keep the vaccine cold for an extended period of time, and it will need recharging with dry ice, and our state is in conversations with a dry ice manufacturer to support the manufacturing of the dry ice and supply in our state for keeping that ultra cold storage vaccine cold. So a lot of moving pieces. We don't exactly have an answer on, there's supposed to be about 975 doses per shipment with the ultra cold storage. That maybe doesn't resonate the best for getting it out to smaller facilities and adult family homes. So we'll have a lot more of troubleshooting and problem solving to do with that. So I will leave the COVID vaccine discussion there. With testing, I have spent hundreds of hours with board members, with independent pharmacies, with individuals within the state, trying to troubleshoot and break down the barriers to pharmacy-based COVID testing. And we are very close to being able to launch and support sites in being able to offer pharmacy-based COVID testing in a safe way for their communities. Some state sites have already started up, even outside of the HHS partnership. So we continue to support those and are working on models both for payment, for the software side of scheduling and reporting to the state, and breaking down those challenges so that we can bring COVID testing to communities, especially rural communities, in a very meaningful way, whether that's to support employers, communities, schools going back into session, all of the different above options. So we have great partnerships with the state on that, and it is lifting a mountain to get COVID testing going in pharmacies. Kirk was just on there sharing his webcam, and Carrie, I know they're both trying this alongside us, as well as many other independent pharmacies and small chains in our area. So stay tuned. If you want to be part of that discussion, please make sure that that you just reach out to me with an email around COVID testing. We continue to have our independent pharmacy owners meeting every month, and so sometimes COVID related discussion topics come up there. And also our hospital directors meet once every other week on Tuesday afternoon as well to discuss COVID related topics. And so we're trying to increase communication and connection and sharing of peers during this evolving time. So that's my updates, Jeff. Thank you very much for a chance to share some of that.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. Clearly, there's a lot going on, and it's very dynamic and changing rapidly as we're all preparing for potentially the release of vaccine, what it takes to get into the system, and the navigating the different testing components. So as I stated earlier, if there is a desire to learn more, there's multiple avenues to do so, and we encourage you to join in those conversations, share with us the struggles, the concerns, maybe some of the fears you might have. There's a very robust level of change happening right now, and clearly with our world as it is, that's not going to stop anytime soon. So we're here for you. We want to hear these things, and we want to see what we can do to advocate on your behalf. So Jenny, I appreciate your conciseness of a big topic. But with that, are there any questions with regard to what Jenny had to offer before we move on to the next item on our agenda?
No.
Okay. Nothing? All right. Well, you can certainly type those into the chat, or Adam, raise your hand later if there's something comes to mind, because we really want to try to address those as we can. So with that, we'll move on to our next topic. If you've been under a rock somewhere, you may not have heard that there's an election going on. That election is largely being focused on federal elections, but we also have state elections, and a number of things that impact us in our profession are going to be impacted by those ballots and the results of the election at the state level as well, and city levels, and then the like. So to talk about all the moving parts, legislative and regulatory, we've got Dee Little, our Director of Government Affairs, and Brandy Signa-Martin, our Executive Fellow, the dynamic duo, to share with you all a little bit about what's going on in preparation for our upcoming session and ongoing right now in the regulatory side. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dee.
Great, thank you, everybody. Dee Little, Director of Government Affairs here. Hello. So wanted to give you an update on what the Government Affairs team has been doing. We've been working on some rules that are in the process of being promulgated right now in response to a couple of pieces of legislation that just recently passed in the 2020 legislative session. First is Substitute Senate Bill 5601. This is the Healthcare Benefit Manager, our PBM bill that we passed this last session. Just a real quick recap, the bill creates a new statute in law specific to healthcare benefit managers, defines healthcare benefit managers to include pharmacy, radiology, mental, physical. It's the first of its kind in the country. And there are other benefit managers out there that operate in the healthcare system, just like the PBMs. Unregulated, zero transparency, zero accountability. So 2 years ago, the WSPA created and co-led a coalition of providers that drafted 5601 alongside with the Insurance Commissioner's Office in attempt to, get some of these, get some transparency going and some regulation around these entities. So right now, the Office of the Insurance Commissioner is in the process of its rulemaking. They started it this summer. We are very involved in this process. We took a look at the draft proposed rules. We've met one-on-one with the insurance commissioners. Our legislative committee has reviewed the rules. And so we're in the process of that. And so really what the goal here is to ensure that these rules reflect the intent of this legislation and provide the insurance commissioners office and staff the much needed oversight and enforcement authority over these entities. And really the majority of the rules focus on the contract transparency process so now what's going to happen is the pharmacy benefit managers have to file the contracts that they enter into with the carriers and their providers. There's data requirements that they must submit, there's timelines and processes. And so again, creating a whole new set of processing and data submittal rules around these healthcare entities. So we are in the process of that. In addition, the bill includes some specific prohibitions on business practices for PBMs. So again, very involved in that. Another rule we are working on is Substitute Senate Bill 6086. This registers remote dispensing sites that use technology to dispense opioid use disorder medications. And I'm going to pass this one on to Brandy Signa-Martin. She and I have been working on this, and let me just say I'm excited to have Brandy with us right now. She's bright, she's quick study, savvy in politics, has a knack for it, and we're having fun working together. And so I just really appreciate her time. Brandy, you want to give folks an update on this one?
Yes, thank you so much, Dee Dee, for that introduction. So as Dee Dee said, Substitute Senate Bill 6086 is a piece of legislation that was passed during the 2020 legislative session. And it was actually brought by a physician in Olympia whose practice specializes in treating opioid use disorder, because she felt there were too many barriers for patients to get their medications for their medication-assisted treatment at a pharmacy due to wait times, transportation, and other barriers that are very unique to this patient population. So the law is really simple. It allows for a pharmacy to extend their license to a remote dispensing site that can be used to dispense FDA-approved medications for opioid use disorder. The rules are in progress, and we have some concerns just in regards to the proposed language being too vague, really, in several areas, including who can retrieve and potentially dispense or administer the medications to the patients, and the responsibility for counseling and labeling requirements. So we are drafting comments and some clarifying questions that we want to be addressed to ensure that patient safety standards around medication dispensing, especially in regards, with consideration that these are controlled substances, are being upheld at these sites. So thank you to our legislative committee members because they really brought forward some thoughts that have helped us with our comments. And we look forward to working with you all throughout this process. And I wanted to throw in behind what Jenny was talking about with COVID and in regards to legislative and regulatory updates is that we are having town halls every other Wednesday evening where we are providing updates about COVID, what's happening there, as well as legislative and regulatory. So please check out our website and tune into those for regular updates. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Brandy. The upcoming legislative session is set to convene its regular session January 11th, 2021. It's going to be a 105-day regular session. It's a budget year, meaning lawmakers will be drafting up the state's operating, transportation, and capital budgets. As you can imagine, this is going to be a legislative session like none other. We're approaching uncharted territory with COVID, the pandemic, and social distancing. No official word yet on how this is all going to work. However, when talking to legislators and those in leadership, the word on the street is it's going to be virtual. And they have been testing out some virtual Zoom meetings with interim legislative committee work sessions. However, those have not gone without some technical difficulties, you can imagine. So there's a lot of unknowns about how this is going to work. So I guess just stay tuned and we'll just adjust accordingly. We are being told, though, from lawmakers, the major topics that they're going to be addressing will be the budget, because they constitutionally have to come up with a 2-year operating, transportation, and capital budget. But we're going to be dealing with some major revenue shortfall due to the pandemic, unemployment issues, the furloughs. So we're going to be prepared with, be prepared for some revenue increases in places. In addition to folks are talking about police reform and justice reform and some COVID-19 stuff. The Department of Health has submitted its legislative and budget proposals, and there's several COVID-related issues and monies in there that they're requesting. So the WSPA will be looking at ways as these proposals are introduced to increase our profession's visibility and being utilized as a resource as these things are move through the process. The election outcome, no big surprises or upsets in Washington State. Major election year, as you guys all know, entire House and half of the Senate was up for re-election, as was all the executive statewide offices, governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general, etc. Jay Inslee won for a 3rd term. This is the 2nd time a governor in Washington State has ever done so. The lieutenant governor position was vacated by Cyrus Habib, so that was an open position. And it came down to the race between 2 Democrats, former Congressman Denny Heck and current Senate Majority Leader Marco Lias. Heck won the position. So in just about all the statewide races, the incumbents, those who currently hold their seats, won. There are a couple of incumbents in the Senate Republican and House Democrat caucuses that did not win. However, the balance of power is not going to shift. The Democrats will still be in control of the governor's office, the lieutenant governor's office, and both chambers, the House and the Senate. This year, the WSPA Political Action Committee contributed to legislative campaigns. This is the first time that we have made contributions since we reactivated the WSPA PAC. I want to thank you to those who have contributed, and I hope that you continue to do so. It's helpful for the WSPA to support these legislators who help us in the legislature and help us move our issues through the process. We mainly focused on legislators who sit on key committees like the healthcare committees and fiscal committees where our issues primarily go. And we gave to incumbents primarily. And it was a mixture of both Republicans and Democrats. Our issues tend to garner both, support from both sides of the aisle. In fact, I work towards that. I work for bipartisanship when seeking support for our issues. It just makes things easier and helps it move through the process easier. Just about everybody we gave money to won their reelection bid. However, there were a couple that did not, but overall, I think we made educated choices on who we gave money to. So I just wanted to thank you all for your support and backup over the years. It really means a lot. I look forward to continuing to work with you and promote the pharmacy profession in this legislative session and with the state agencies. Thank you.
Edie, we had one question, does RCW 4843.430 subpart 2 essentially block dispenses written 9 programs starting on January 1st?
I'm assuming you're referring to a bill that was passed just this last session on prohibiting brands over generics. And that was the intent. Because there was 2 phases for that bill, and that phase actually takes place that, if there's a dispense written, if there isn't, then you can dispense the brand over the generic and run it through their insurance. I think I'm getting that correctly. And so yes, that is my understanding. And if that is not happening, and I believe that takes effect January 1, 2021, there is a complaint process that we could go through the Office of the Insurance Commissioner with respect to the insurance carrier at this time, if you're having issues. So reach out to me if there's an issue, and I can talk you through it, and we can see, as this thing gets implemented, how it's working.
Great. And Dee Dee, just to reiterate, how do people get involved in these processes, in the rule rewrite, helping to get us engaged? How do our members engage with the work that you're doing through legislative committee and through calls to submit comments and perspectives on the rule rewriting or rule writing?
Through the WSPA Legislative Committee, and I welcome folks to do this. And I think what we need to do is a better job of promoting membership in that. It's not exclusive, but it is a commitment, because when you do join the WSPA Legislative Committee, you're looking at rules and legislation, and we're reviewing it, and I need feedback. And a lot of times, especially during session, it's pretty quick turnaround. But with respect to rules, I think it's really important for our members to get involved in that, because this impacts your practice, your daily practices and procedures and processes that you go through. And so definitely, join the legislative committee, because that's where all this stuff goes through, because we just vet it out, we work through it, and you guys give me direction and on how to, proceed with legislation or with rules. If there's issues in a rule that you feel is going the wrong direction, then, we work through it with the agency and submit comments and participate in that process.
Great. So if anybody is on the call is interested, either put your email in the chat, or if you're don't feel comfortable doing that, contact Dee Dee. Dee Dee's name is spelled D-E-D-I at WSPARX.org. Send her an email with your interest, and you'll get the emails as we send them out. We want all perspectives at the table. If you're willing to read through these and contribute on some, but you can't do all, that's fine. We want your special viewpoint to be considered. throughout this. And the other ways you can help in the process, as Dee Dee mentioned, is the PAC, the Political Action Committee. If you go onto the WSPA website, there's a button that says advocate on it. You click that button and you will get a page that allows you to look at state regulatory stuff, state legislative stuff, federal things that are pertinent. And so as a member, you can go in and get updates. As we get into session, being a part of that and being a part of the calls will keep you abreast of all the moving parts. It happens quickly. It is a carnival ride. This year, as Dee Dee mentioned, is unique. So we don't know exactly how many bills will be heard, but we are hearing that obviously it's a budget year and that's a huge issue. Police reform has been an area of conversation and discussion, and some of the legislative conversations we've had, and everything COVID related is on the table, but a number of moving parts. So we don't know what this year will look like, but we do know that your perspective along the way is exceedingly valuable. So as engaged as you can be, it's helpful to us all. Again, Dee Dee, D-E-D-I at WSPARX.org.
And I've shared
Thank
that
you,
in
Dee
the
Dee.
chat.
Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, next, drum roll please, is President McIntyre's presidential address. As I stated before, Megan, this has been one for the record books, and so please share with us your thoughts of the year, and what you've seen and what you're looking forward to with the leadership and in next role as past president.
Sure. Well, I will keep it brief. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Dee Dee and Brandy. No matter what, I am sure it's going to be an exciting legislative year, right? However it works out, and I look forward to being a part of that, and I hope we get some more members to engage in it. So thank you for sharing that way to connect. So one of my kids this year was Bob Ross for Halloween, and don't worry, I'm not going to talk about my children this whole time, but I wanted to share that because as I prepared a couple of remarks for the presidential address, it made me think about one of Bob Ross's quotes, which is about, you have to have dark in order to show light. And he says it in a couple different ways, you know, in terms of highlighting and comparing and contrasting and illustrating. And there's a lot of that, I think, in life and in this year. And it just kind of kept swirling. I think it really sort of sums up maybe, at least for me, my experience, right? So sometimes you feel like you're in the dark and then a light and lots of ups and downs. And a lot of it is really about perspective, but I think also acknowledging the dark that exists and thinking about ways to look and create light. And I think that every one of you has done that either individually, in your pharmacy practice, in your pharmacy, in various roles that you may have in community groups or maybe volunteer organizations, or, you know, and so it was something I tried to bring to this role. I believe that I did, and tried, you know, not that it's easy, right? But, you know, how can we bring that light? And some of it too, I have this mug that I've been feeling a lot lately. I don't know if you guys can read it. This is going well, right? So it's sort of about what we emphasize, right? You could be like, well, this is going well, or like, this is going well, right? So the emphasis, which word are we gonna put the emphasis on, or which syllable? And I showed you my scissors already, right? So I could have waxed even more poetic about my scissors. I'll still do it a little bit. For those of you that know me, that shouldn't be too far-fetched. But, you know, you could see these as something that could hurt and cut, or, you know, destroy, break down. But actually, every time I see these, I think two things now. But I think about how I couldn't create a lot of like beautiful quilts or things like that without scissors to sort of transform the current state of that fabric, right? Or to innovate and maybe change something, right? And I think that that really speaks to a lot of what we've had to do in many fronts, is how do we innovate quickly and change and refine. And So instead of looking at the scissors and thinking about cutting or separating, thinking about how do we use this to transform and look for that light. And I think that's really all I want to say, is that I see light. I see light in the rearview mirror when we look back with what we achieved during 2020, what we have learned. I see light when I think about within the WSPA with Chris Greer, who is going to step into the president's role here very shortly. And I think I'd like to give Chris actually just a minute or two to share sort of his thoughts or some comments on that, about the light that you're going to bring. So go ahead, Chris. Oops, you're muted.
Sorry, muted. Right now, most of the light I'll share is the shine off my forehead, maybe. It's such an honor to serve this association. I wanted to point out my gratitude to the leadership of Carrie Vanderhouen. She's our immediate past president. She'll be finishing her term. And also thanking Megan for the wonderful job she's done. Does anybody remember when she gave her talk about 2020 vision, about seeing the future maybe? We did not see this coming, but it's amazing to me that when we needed the right people and the right roles with the right talents, we had them in place, and President McIntyre did such a wonderful job. So what do we have in the future? We don't know, but we do know we've never had a better opportunity to serve our community and improve their health in the practice of pharmacy. So that's what we really have to look forward to. I get the opportunity to work with students, and I brag about how great the WSPA is. Why is it so great? It's really the people who are involved. So I'd like to challenge everyone to make a couple commitments. One is to be engaged in your local pharmacy association, or one of the many opportunities here in our WSPA, and try to involve yourself. And the other thing is, let us know your ideas. We really want to hear how we can make the practice of pharmacy better for you. So with that, I'll hand it back. I look forward to a great year. And also, when you have a chance, volunteer to be in a leadership position. It's very rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Great. So I think you can see why I make the comment about seeing a lot of light in his leadership for the association. And during the academy meetings yesterday, and the town halls, and the awards that are coming up next week, I see nothing but light in the way that people continue to serve the patients in the communities that they work in and really push the profession forward. I see a lot of light in the new incoming board members, so we'll be officially installing them next week. And the ideas and the fresh energy and perspective is going to be welcomed, and can't wait to incorporate all of that. And I think the other area that I really see light in is in the leadership of the WSPA through the executive role, through the CEO role. So one of the opportunities that I had a chance to guide and lead through was the transition, as Jeff had announced in October about him pursuing his next sort of career adventure, if you will, which is outside of the WSPA, necessitating a replacement and a selection of the next CEO for WSPA. And we put in a process with criteria, receiving applications, going through all of that, and we did not have an expectation of being able to announce the results or a confirmed individual for the CEO position. But as luck would have it, we actually are able to share that with you today. So I see a lot of light in this individual. I feel like I could play a game and read trivia about them, such as graduating from University of Washington School of Pharmacy, having completed a PGY1 residency at Swedish Medical Center, board certified pharmacotherapy specialist, and has really pushed to grow the practice of pharmacy in our state for the last 11 years through the role of the Director of Practice Development. So with that, I would like to introduce to you the first female CEO of WSPA in the last 130 years that we've been in association. I couldn't remember how long, and it is Jenny Arnold. So Jenny, join me on camera. There should be like rounds of wild applause that we can't give you, and this is most deserved, well earned. And with that, I'd like to just give you a moment.
Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you to our board for their support, and also for selecting me to lead the WSPA. I couldn't be more thrilled and excited to bring WSPA into this next chapter. I really want to thank you, Megan, for all the time that you took to organize the executive committee, for the thoughtful interview process and selection process. I know that wasn't how you were planning on spending your fall of this crazy year, and I really appreciate you and the executive committee for all that time that you've spent. I also want to thank Jeff Vershawn for his friendship, for his mentorship, his partnership over the years. We will miss you, but we know you're not going very far, and will be a very active member in WSPA also. I want to highlight that WSPA is not me. It's not our board. It's not our staff. WSPA is our members. And WSPA, it's important that we represent all of our members from diverse practice settings, backgrounds, their types of practice. It's all of us that really make WSPA strong. All of those voices, all of that input. It melds together into one vision, one voice for the profession, so that we can be strong together. But really, it's the coming together of all of those inputs, all of that feedback, all of those ideas. And so I want to hear from you. I want you to be engaged. I want members to be at meetings. I want you to please read the emails, read posts, and reach out to me. When we need to be turning our head in a different direction, point us in that direction. We need to hear from you. We need to know what it is that you know out in practice, so we can represent you, so that we can change where things need to be changed, so we can shine light on great innovative practices where we need to. I also want our members, all of them, to see themselves within the WSPA. I want them to see themselves within our committees, within special interest groups. And so we're going to be developing more of those, make it easier for you to find them, to be engaged with them over this next chapter of WSPA. And I also want to share more with you and find more meaningful ways of letting you know what comes out of meetings and things that all of the WSPA staff are engaged in. And so I'm really excited for this next chapter. I think WSPA is a wonderful organization, but you know, there's great and there's greater, and together we will get to an even higher level for our profession. So thank you so much, President McIntyre. Thank you to our executive committee and the board. I'm really excited to go through this next path and adventure with you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. Again, more light. That's what I see. I think that, you know, we could rattle off lists of accomplishments beyond some of the highlights that we've shared so far in this session or in the academies and things like that. But I think if we all just think for a moment that we actually get to experience it every day as pharmacy professionals in this state. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Jeff Vershawn for some closing remarks, and also thank him for his service and leadership as the outgoing CEO. And with that, I will transition it to you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. I am so excited for the future of WSPA. Great job to the selection committee. I know that there were multiple candidates, and Jenny is so excited, prepared, capable. She has connections, and I'm totally biased because I've worked alongside her. And I've mentioned before, she was my right and left arm for many years, and as we partnered through Divide and Conquer on so many different components of this world we live in, and I think that it's very exciting for the WSPA to have its first female CEO in 130 years. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the amazing leadership of WSPA over the years. Since 1890, we've had Rod Schaefer and Ray Olson and Dick Fowler and Reed Bement, and they have helped guide this plethora of amazing volunteer leaders that have changed pharmacy practice in our state and across the country. And so I'm just so blessed to be even able to walk down through that journey with you all. It's tremendously rewarding to get up, excuse me, every day to a job you love, surrounded by friends and colleagues and people that you care about, and work hard for them. So I'm blessed. Been able to work with the amazing staff that has, always worked tirelessly on behalf of our board and our members, oftentimes completely behind the scenes, and worked hard to increase the visibility of their contributions to this, because as Jenny recognized so clearly, this association isn't one person. It is a whole host of amazing folks. And in my letter that I wrote announcing my move, I really wanted to emphasize the we, because all these things we did, all of them, and we're going to continue to do those. So there's tremendous steps that we've taken, and even if they're not on paper, there's membership mentoring, there's development of. I personally was rewarded by the dedication of mentors that helped guide me through my career, and I know that happens because of WSPA, because it happened for me because of WSPA. John Oftebro absolutely took a chance with me to develop a community practice residency, and I first met Sean Sullivan as a student leader at UW, and he's been throughout this with me. Of course, Nancy Murphy, and I shouldn't be naming names because I will not be able to name everybody who has helped me, but I did want a special call out to Rod Schaefer, who searched me out and led me down this path, and I'm really appreciative. Thank you. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be here, and that was the best part of this, is I get to help, but I also get to be with my friends and still fight this battle. So I'm staying here. You're not going to see the last of me. I just have a different title, no title, and I'm going to be rolling up my sleeves alongside you as we work on this together. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you,
I
Jeff.
think we're going to wrap this up, Megan. Absolutely.
I want to do like a shoulder hug. I'll lean towards you, depending what side I'm on. So thank you
Hug your monitor.
so much. That's right. We haven't. Is there? I don't know if that's come up or not. So thank you, Jeff. We know that
Thank
you
you.
are not going anywhere, but it's also exciting to see what you learn and how that comes back to continue to support and grow all of us that are here. So I think this is a team sport across all areas. So I think with that, Jenny probably has the secret code and some announcements about the afternoon, unless there were any questions in the audience.